what it is all about is giving you the time to reflect on some of the skills that you may or may not have at the moment, and to give you an idea of how you might be able to develop those skills over time to help you get your dream job, to help you take those next steps in your education. So the outcomes from today's session, can I just ask you, Nicola, just to give us a bit of an introduction to what we'll be covering today?
Yeah, so we're going to obviously revisit what we've done so far this week. So we're going to look at self-management, and we're going to sort of see whether or not you've taken that in. We are going to start looking at qualification routes as well. So obviously, I think there are a lot of questions on Tuesday about how you actually get into certain careers. Now, we're going to start quite basically today about an overview about the different ways, what you can do, and the different kind of qualifications you can take. And we'll explain in a bit more detail as well, because there's lots of different terminology that sometimes doesn't make the most of sense. We'll look at what you need to do to get into cybersecurity and artificial intelligence as well. And obviously, we'll look a bit more about self-management that our university students use. So I've got 3 students who are here with us today: Camille, Sean and Amina. They're all current students at the University of Leicester, and they're going to talk to you a little bit more later about the course they do, about kind of how they got there, the routes they've taken, and a bit more about the skills they use as well. It'll also be your chance to talk to them, find out about the course they do, but also to find out a bit more about student life potentially as well. So what they actually get up to in their free time, what clubs they're part of, what societies they're part of, and what it's like to be a real life university student as well. So that's kind of where we're hoping to get by the end of it, and obviously learning more along the way about obviously the wider picture in terms of qualifications.
So before we get into talking about higher education and self-management and those types of skills, on Tuesday we set you an employer challenge. And actually it was Robin that set you the challenge. So Robin, can I just ask you to remind us what the challenge was that you set for all of our participants, please?
Yep, hi. So the challenge was 3 ways I could show initiative, accountability and organisation while I'm working from home, and to show to my employer that I'm good at self-management.
Thank you. And we had loads of really good quality entries, which was amazing for our very first challenge. So I know you guys are all busy with schoolwork, so for you to go the extra mile and to participate was fantastic. So as you know, there are prizes. So our challenge winner will get a £25 Amazon voucher for themselves, and they'll get £500 worth of resources or IT equipment for their school as well. So I think it's time to announce the winner. So if we all want to do a drum roll. So our very first challenge winner is it's Raka from Judge Meadow Community College. So we'll have a look at that entry in a minute, and Robin will be telling us a bit more about why it was that she liked that one in particular. But like I said, it was really, really hard to pick. And there were a couple of people that we wanted to mention whose entries were absolutely fantastic as well. So Lewis, yours was brilliant. You gave us a lot to think about. And Sophie as well, your poster was brilliant as well. So let's have a look at what Raka sent in. And Robin, are you happy just tell us a bit about why this was the one that got your vote overall?
Yeah, it was really nicely laid out, and also I really liked the bit in the initiative stage where it says you may do a course in your spare time to sort of improve your own skills, but making the choice to do that by yourself. And I also quite liked in accountability the part about always being better in your next problem and trying to find ways to make yourself better. So yeah, I thought there was a lot of good points made in this poster.
Yeah, and I thought there was I really love the couple of lines that are highlighted as well. So self-management is a skill, you're not born with it, you can grow it over time, and that's absolutely right. And I thought that was the best summary actually of self-management that I've seen on any resource, which is it's all about being the boss of you and not just being the boss of a team. So fantastic. So we'll drop you an email, Raka, we'll send you your prize. And again, can I just ask everyone to do a big kind of virtual round of applause, and thank you to Robin again for joining us for that session on Tuesday and for setting us this challenge. So thank you very much, Robin.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So I've got a poll for you all first of all. Let's see how good your memories are. So we talked about self-management skills last week. We looked at 6 self-management skills in particular. Can you remember them? Can you tell me which one of these skills that I've listed here was not on our list of those 6 self-management skills? Tell us what you think, guys. Oh. Do you know what? Very impressive. I'm very impressed so far. I'm going to give you guys another 10 seconds just to complete that poll. 61% of you in the room have voted. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you should all be able to see the results now, and I'm glad to say that 86% of those that voted were absolutely right. So advocacy was not one of the skills that we talked about. These were the 6 that we had to look at. So just as a bit of a reminder, our self-management skills, they were initiative, we talked about organisation, accountability, we talked about time management, we talked about decision making, and we spoke about stress management as well. All of these were really key elements to consider when we think about ourselves, how we conduct ourselves, how we present ourselves, and how we are successful in the things that we undertake, whether that's education, whether that's a job. They're really valuable skills for our future. So today's session, we've talked about self-management in the world of work. We're going to talk about self-management in our educational pathways to get into jobs like Robin. So I'm going to hand over to Nicola now, just to talk to us a little bit about some of the different education routes and pathways we might consider.
Okay, so you guys are all in either year 9 or 10, hopefully, which means obviously you're in secondary school and you're going to be working towards, most of you will be working towards your GCSEs. Now, when you kind of look at the bigger picture and you start looking at careers websites and things, you might start seeing things like level 2, level 3 and level 4. And you might kind of wonder, well, what does that mean and where does it all fit in? So there's a really kind of clear template which kind of shows you what we mean by each of those levels. So level 2 is when you've got your GCSEs, it says you've got a level 2 qualification. That is contingent upon you getting kind of at least a grade 2 or above in your GCSEs. But on the whole, most people will get that. So GCSEs is a level 2 qualification. Now you'll all be doing those. You'll all sit those in school, hopefully actually in school next year or the year after for most of you. But it's after that point where you start getting real choice in what you do. So obviously up until now, you had a bit of choice probably for your GCSE options, but there wouldn't have been an awful lot. When you get to the next stage, you start having real choice, not only in the subjects you choose, but also in the type of qualification that you take. So the qualification is just obviously the pathway you follow. It's how you go about doing a certain subject. Now you have got something like A-levels, which is the academic route that you can follow. And that's when normally you'll choose 3 subjects. You will study them in detail over 2 years. And at that point, obviously, then you can go on and do whatever you want in the future. Taking A-levels is really good if you don't really know what you want to do and you want a really good spread of courses, because you could choose A-levels in any subject at all. They don't need to be linked. So you could take maths and music alongside each other, for example. They don't have to be linked together. They are also really good for some subjects where actually the requirements don't allow you to take a BTEC, for example. So certain subjects aren't on offer as a BTEC, so you have to go through the A-level route. If you think, actually, do you know what, I really struggle with kind of the essay writing, I struggle with the sitting down and having lots of information thrown at me by teachers, I want to think a bit more hands-on, then you might want to look at the occupational route, which is the apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are where you get paid at the same time as learning. So you learn alongside having a job, and it's a really good way to get into a certain industry. Now, these are brilliant if you know what you want to do and you want to get in the ground up and actually have a go at certain things. So brilliant for lots of different career pathways. Then kind of in between, you've got your vocational and your technical ones. So vocational is where they're not really hands-on, but it's leading to a very specific pathway, a very specific vocation. So if, for example, you want to be a hairdresser, then obviously you can do an apprenticeship, but you could also do it as a BTEC as well. If you're thinking about doing something in the healthcare industry, you might choose to do a BTEC in health and social care. So you're not going to get the hands-on practical experience that you would do with an apprenticeship, but you still learn in a very kind of different way than you would do as an A-level. These, again, are really good if you have an understanding, an idea where you kind of want to go in the future, because they will narrow your choices. They will kind of limit what your options are in the future. But obviously that's not a problem if you know the area that you want to go into. So apprenticeship tends to be more specific focus, where you know kind of the career pathway you want to follow a little bit more. BTECs, and in theory T-levels going forward as well, are more about the area that you want to become in, whereas A-levels are a little bit more broad. So they're called level 3 qualifications. So once you've got those, that's then the end of your compulsory education. So after that point in time, you don't have to stay in school. You can go out and get a job straight away and obviously go and do your own thing. But you have then got the opportunity to do higher level qualifications. Now, most people think of that as university. Now, we were talking a lot about university today because we have got the university students here and we will have case studies around university. But it's important that you know that's not your only option. So you can go on to do higher level apprenticeships as well. And that will get you the same level qualification as doing a university degree. So the big thing with this is hopefully showing you along the way, you have got options. It's not just one clear pathway you have to follow. It's about thinking about, how do you like to learn? How do you think about your future? Do you know what you want to do? So it's really important that you do work backwards. So a lot of people tell me, it's too early, why am I thinking about my future now? I'm only in year 9, I've got ages to go before that. But if you know that actually you want to be a doctor, then you know that you've got to go to university. You know that to get into university, you need to be doing biology and chemistry, really. You know you're going to have to get high grades for it. You know you're going to have to get certain work experience. So even though you don't need to worry too much about all the specifics along the route, you need to make sure you're making the right choices. And that's what this kind of session is all about, starting to get you think about those choices and making sure you make the right ones along the way to help you with your future self, and to make sure that you're not closing off doors to yourselves by making the wrong choices now. So all about choice. And on the next slide, what we're going to have a look at is a website that kind of lays that out a little bit more for you.
But the website that we're showing you now is called Career Pilot. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because it can be quite confusing, because there's lots and lots of different words, terms and labels that can be given to different qualifications. And what's really important is that you know that there's a huge big breadth of them out there. So what this kind of shows us is qualification levels qualifications in terms of levels. So this is what the UK qualification system looks like. So automatically you'll be doing kind of level 1 to level 2 study. And as we talked about in our very first session, education is compulsory until you're aged 18. And so most of you will get to kind of level 3 within compulsory education. And you can already see just from this slide here, when we get to even level 2, we've got our GCSE grades 4 to 9, which is something that we really commonly talk about, our GCSEs. But you can also see there's equivalents as well. So you've got your MVQ level 2s, you've got BTEC level 2s as well, all are equivalent. And then when we move to level 3, so for a lot of you, this is when you kind of have your first choice or big choice about where you go to study. You might move from school to college, you might progress into a sixth form college, but you can see that there's lots and lots of different level 3 qualifications that you can pursue. And we tend to just talk really about apprenticeships, A levels and BTECs, but you can see as well there's lots of other ones in between that. So T levels are a new and emerging qualification. They're actually being piloted in a few colleges across the country, and Leicester College is one of them. So T levels are about bringing employment and work placements together with your studies. and then the International Baccalaureate, as well as another quite common study programme. And the way that I describe it is it's a bit like a pie, so you do lots of different bits of qualifications, so you come out with a really broad and varied kind of subject base and knowledge. And when we get to level 4, this is when we start talking about higher education. And just to make it really clear, if you were to go to university and you were to finish your 3 or 4 years at university, you come out of it with a level 6 qualification, and that's your degree. But as you can see, there's loads and loads of different alternative routes in higher education. So you've got higher national certificates, you've got higher national diplomas, which you can study in college. And you've also can see that we've got apprenticeship routes as well, and vocational routes. So there really is something to suit you when it comes to the subject, when it comes to the way that you like to learn, and when it comes to the insight that you want to get from your study. So you've got loads and loads of different choice. And one of the key things we want to get across to you from this programme is there's no right or wrong way. There's only you, there's only your future, and it's only you that can really make the right decision for yourself. So I'm just going to stop sharing there.
As well is that kind of no matter which pathway you follow, you can often end up at the same place as well. So don't think by following one pathway that's it. Your whole path to your future is set, and that's the only option you have. You can often get the same kind of careers and the same future by following different pathways. And if university is your goal, by no means think you have to take A levels when you get to kind of 16. Universities do look at all the other options out there, and they do take people from kind of all walks of life as well. As we'll hear from our students a little bit later on, they've taken kind of different qualifications to get there, but actually they've all ended up in the same place, which is university at the minute.
There's a lot of other links here as well, and I'll put them to you in a follow-up email, but Career Pilot is a really good website to talk through all those different choices in a bit more depth that I just showed you, both when you're looking at your post-16 options and your post-18 options as well. So these will give you kind of a really good insight. So we're just going to talk through kind of a bit of a scenario right now. So I'll hand over to Nicola, but this is our student Sophie.
So we're going to have a look at Sophie's career path. So at this point, she's finished school. So she finished school at 16. She got 8 GCSEs, including good passes in both maths and English. Now at school, Sophie was always really good at doing IT. She was a really good kind of problem solver, and she had really good analytical skills too. So she thinks that she wants to have a future in IT. And she started to have a look at her options kind of within the IT industry, and obviously she's going to start thinking about what the pathways are open to her and what she should be doing next as well in terms of the best option for her.
So we're just going to go back and have a little bit of a poll and see what some of you guys think. So I've just got a few questions which I'm just going to launch now. So you should all be able to see these. So our first question is, Sophie took 8 GCSEs, and we already know from the slide that she took maths, English, and IT. But what other subjects do we know that Sophie has got a GCSE in? What do we think?
So think about your core subjects. Think about what you have to be doing in school and what we know for a fact that she would definitely have a GCSE in.
And then our next question is, in your opinion, and again, there's no right or wrong, but what post-16 route do you think that Sophie should take? If you were in Sophie's shoes, knowing what you know about her, what is it that you would choose if you were her? And our final question is about subjects. So what subjects would be most relevant?
So for question 3, it's obviously multiple choice. So you obviously look at the
so you
options
can select
down
more
there.
than one for question 3. What do we think?
We're up to 65% of you having voted so far. So if you're not sure, have a go.
So I'm just going to give everyone 10 more seconds just to tell me what you think about some of those questions. So we know that Sophie's got science because science is a compulsory subject, and you will all have science actually, all of you that are doing GCSEs. What post-16 route should Sophie take? So the majority of you, 78% of you, felt that Sophie should do A-levels if she wants to progress in her career down the IT route. And what subjects do we think would be most relevant? There's again no right or wrong answer here, but we can see that most of you felt that she should take something like computer science, followed by maths. So just to share your results, that's what everybody kind of said. So let's have a look and see what it was that Sophie did.
So Sophie, like you guys, did decide to go with her A-levels, and she did maths, computer science and physics. So again, like most of you kind of thought, you're absolutely right. Again, no right or wrong answer, but if you have got an interest in a certain career pathway, there will be subjects that kind of suit that best. And obviously that's where your research comes into it. And that's why we do say about working backwards as well, because it's really important that you don't just think, oh, this sounds really exciting. You actually know what it involves as well. So far with cyber and AI, I think everything we've seen made it sound really cool. Now, I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying just make sure you know what goes into that day-to-day job. We had a massive spike in forensic science courses and students a few years back when CSI kind of all kicked off on the telly. Everyone watched it and thought, wow, I want to be that cool person wearing sunglasses all the time, rocking up to a crime scene, making these great big sweeping observations and solving murder cases like in an instant. People didn't quite realise that essentially they come to university, they put on some kind of glorified bin bags for quite a long time and work in really, really small dark rooms for hours and hours on end, kind of figuring things out. So the career path you want to follow, like in this case, it might sound amazing, but just make sure you know what it involves, and that will help you when it comes to choosing your subjects. Like Sophie did in this instance, she knows what the course is going to involve, so she knows what subjects will be best for us to take at this point in time. So at the end of her first year of sixth form, Sophie then drew up a shortlist of university courses she wanted to do, she was interested in doing. Sophie used the UCAS website. So UCAS is the University and College Admissions System or Service. So this is where that you will go to find out more information about the courses available to you. And it's where you will go to kind of find out a bit more about the universities initially as well. And it's the kind of the first point of call for your university research. And you might be surprised at how many options there actually are available to you. So computer science, obviously it's a subject in itself. So what we want you to do in the chat in a moment is have a guess at how many computer science courses are available at universities across the country on the UCAS website.
Yeah, so I've opened the chat now. So what do you think, guys? When Sophie searched computer science courses on UCAS, how many different courses do we think she was able to find that were computer science courses? Oh, 70, 200, 300, okay. So we've got quite a range. The highest I've seen is 300, the lowest I've seen is 2. Oh, 170, that's quite precise. Oh, 500, it's going up and up. 80 from Phoebe, 88 from Neely. Anyone want to tell me their thoughts?
1,000 out to 1,000.
Oh, up to 1,000. Right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to turn the chat off and then let's reveal how many.
To see the answer.
There's actually 2,745 computer science courses that you can study at level 4 or above degree level in the UK.
That is an awful lot of choice. So obviously you might think, whoa. The big thing to say kind of about university courses and the choice you get is that unlike school, universities don't follow a national curriculum. So there's no set of things that universities have to teach. Now, all the people who teach at universities have all got their own areas of interest, have all got their own research that they do, and these people basically decide what they want to be teaching. So every university course is going to be slightly different. There might be some key things you'll see across the board, because you can't do computer science without learning, the basics of computer technology. But you will find the makeup of the courses is really, really different. So again, this is why research is so important. And I can pretty much guarantee every Friday I talk to you about this, I will mention the word research. We should play a game of bingo or something. If I say you should give yourself a penny or something like that. But it's really important because it's not just about the course headline. Because as you can see, well, how do you choose between 2,745 different courses? Well, there's a few different ways to do it. So Sophie's decided her first choice is to do artificial intelligence and computer science at Edinburgh. So as you can see, that's not just a computer science course. That's actually got something else alongside it. And that's what you'll notice. There's lots of ands involved. Computer science and something else as well. So this is why UCAS is so good to kind of your first port of call to see just what's out there. Now you'll see one of the things you'll have to look at is the entry requirements. That's kind of the small bit on the bottom, which underlined at the minute. So it talks about the A-level requirements. So what do you need? Now what you will find on course pages, it doesn't just say A-levels. It will talk about BTECs, the International Baccalaureate, access courses, and all manner of other things as well. So don't be put off by just saying A-levels. It will tell you other entry requirements as well. But for this one, you can see, if I zoom in, is ABB to AAA. So there's a range of grades in there as well. And what you will be offered depends on your circumstances. Kind of, the university look at the whole picture of you as well. There's a range of requirements that you need. But it's also about specific requirements. As you can see that we just circled there, that you need to have an A in maths in order to get onto this course. Now, some courses will still require you to have an A level in something to get onto the course, in addition to a BTEC qualification. Again, research is so important to make sure that you're taking the right qualification at level 3, so that's your A levels, or your BTEC route, in order to get onto the university course that you want to do. So really important to work backwards in this case. So that's her first choice. So based on all of this, do we think Sophie will get the right A levels she needs? Again, there's no kind of right or wrong to this. It's just, what do you think? Do you think she sounds like the type of person who's going to get those grades?
Oh, nearly had all the votes in. So overwhelmingly, from what I can see, we're thinking that, yeah, Sophie's going to smash her A levels and she's going to get into her first choice university, which is Edinburgh. Just give you 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And yeah, 95% of you guys think that, yeah, Sophie's going to do great and she's going to get into her first choice university. So let's have a look and see how it went for Sophie.
Hooray!
Yay, well done, Sophie.
So during her A-levels, the interest she has in computer science grows, which is obviously brilliant. She worked super hard and she got AAB for her A-levels. So she got her offer to place at the University of Edinburgh to study the course she wanted, which is artificial intelligence and computer science. And she came out of it with a 2-1. This is the way that universities do their grades. So we don't give out A, Bs and Cs, and we don't give out 9 through to 1 either. So we have a classification system where you get a first class degree, you get a 2-1, a 2-2, or a third class degree. It just kind of tells you the mark that you got sort of as part of your degree qualification. So she got a 2-1, so she worked really hard when she was on her actual course. And the key thing with Sophie's course was it wasn't just a 3-year course, it was actually a 4-year course, because that meant she did a year in as a work placement, so a year in industry as part of her degree. Now, for a career path like this, that's really, really valuable work experience. It's the same with things like engineering and business as well. If you can get a year doing a work placement, getting some experience in the business, it's really going to give you a competitive edge when it comes to getting into the marketplace as well. So Sophie's got options. Doing computer science allows her to do a whole host of different jobs going forward, and some of the ones are mentioned below. And then we're going to see a little bit more about some specific career pathways about how to become a cyber investigator.
Days a week, we are at risk of a cyber attack. Who will be next? No one knows. Hackers are becoming more targeted, and their strategies are smart. Robots are being programmed to attack systems. How can we stop them? Who can stop them? You can.
I'm currently a civil service fast track apprentice on the cybersecurity track. I've been able to gain recognised qualifications through the apprenticeship scheme. It's also set me up on an exciting career path that I never would have considered previously. We've learned about malware and the various ways they can be deployed onto a system, and following on from that, how they can then exploit that system to gain control of it. Knowing all this, it allows us to better detect when something is wrong in the network and actually stop that happening. Before I did my apprenticeship, I used to play a lot of video games. Halo, Titanfall, Destiny. Now, I'm focusing on helping protect an organisation from real-life cyber attacks. We had a week on open source intelligence, learning the various ways that different systems and searching can be used on the internet to gain information about businesses and people. And we are now looking at developing a process of mapping out our own digital footprint and using that information to better help protect our systems. The best things about working for the DVLA are the people who are always friendly and helpful. The benefits such as flexible working and being able to work on actual projects which come with real challenges and allow me to test my abilities.
QA apprenticeships. The Cybersecurity Apprenticeship. Join now.
Titles and university open days, it's all very kind of buzzy. It all looks really, really cool. Again, just do your research, folks, and make sure that you know what you're getting yourselves into, really. And again, to become pathways there, you can go to university, you can do apprenticeships. Civil service fast stream is often available for graduates of university as well. So loads and loads of different kind of routes into the sector. So just kind of keep your eyes open. This is an area where we are certainly increasing our kind of the job market at the minute. So certainly something to look out for in the future. So we're going to move on now to actually talking to our university students. So we've got 3 students with us today. We've got Amina, Sean and Camille, and they're going to spend a little bit of time kind of talking to you about what it is they do, the pathway they took to get to university, what they do at university, and obviously a little bit more about life at university as well. So Amina, if your face is first on the slide, so if you want to kind of unmute yourself and get your video up, and if you kind of just want to give your introduction first for me, we'll go through introductions and then we'll sort of come back to the main chat from there.
Hiya, so I'm Amina and I do physics and space sciences at university. And the A-levels that I took were physics, maths and politics at a 6th form in Leicester. And I want to go on to be a pilot when I leave university.
And Amina, what's the interesting thing about you? How old were you when you started university?
I was 16 when I started at uni.
So just, can you tell everyone kind of how you managed to do that? Obviously it's not normal, is it? Not that you're not normal, but obviously it's not the normal thing to be doing. So could you just explain a little bit more about obviously how that came to be?
So for my GCSEs, I was homeschooled, so I took them when I was 13. And then I went on to do my A-levels when I was 14 and finished them when I was 16. So I took about a two years jump when I was doing my GCSEs.
Fab. So we'll come back to Amina in a little while. So if you have got questions, obviously just kind of keep them to yourself for now, and we'll open up the chat in a little while. Sean, if you're there.
Hello.
So same for you, if you don't mind, just a bit of your introduction for us.
Yeah, so as it says on the slide, I'm originally from the US, but I've done my GCSEs and A-levels in a school in Oxford. Now I study computer science at Leicester. I'm a second-year student. For my A-levels, I took math, computer science, and physics. And then, yeah, outside of my degree in computer science, my favorite hobby is photography.
Fabulous. And then Camille, if we can, on to the next slide, Becca.
Yeah, hi, so my name is Camille. I'm doing my master's at the moment in web applications and services. That's also at the University of Leicester. I don't know if you can see, as you can see on there. Initially, with my undergrad, I have started at the University of Leicester, but then I had some kind of problems, so I transferred over to De Montfort, which is another university in the same city, from which I graduated. And I came back to University of Leicester to do my master's. I think that's mainly all about the university part.
What about obviously before university, Camille?
What about what, sorry?
Before university.
Before university. So I went to two different colleges. First one was in Manchester, so it was Pendleton College. I have done my it was like subsidiary diploma in IT, and I've done first year of the 2 years of the course because I found the course not being quite suitable what I wanted to do, so I transferred over to another college in which I have done a level 3 national extended diploma in IT, and I finished that with distinction, and that was the minimum requirement I have as an offer from the University of Leicester to get onto my undergrad. So I like pushing it really hard to get there.
Excellent, thank you. Good introductions, guys. I think before we open up the chat, Amina, could you talk a little bit more about your course and what you do as part of your course?
So my course is Physics with Space Sciences. So that's got a lot to do with the universe, electronics. So for example, we learn about planetary systems, also designing space rockets, for example, looking at space missions, but also just things that you would use every day. So for example, throwing a ball, the physics behind that. And my course really relates to something that you do every day, a simple activity, and what the science behind that is.
Very succinct. I like your explanation for that one. Sean, how about you and your course?
Well, I just do like the very base computer science course, so it covers everything in computer science pretty much. But now going into third year, we get to choose more specifically what we want to do. So it could be like, for me, I want to do more AI stuff, which goes in very well with this presentation. But yeah, we do pretty much everything there is in computer science.
Can you give a couple of examples? The students might not know kind of what that actually means. So what are some of the kind of the modules you've been doing and what they actually involved?
Yeah, so for the practical stuff, it's a lot of programming, databases, just building applications and programs, some mobile development, like on Android, web development, that kind of stuff. There's also theory, so learning about computer hardware, like how the CPU works, or more kind of abstract, basic theory about like computer theory, very early on, like history. So it's a lot of stuff.
And how much of it is practical versus theory?
I think it's like 60-40, 60% practical. Yeah.
Well, and Camille, obviously you've done your undergraduate degree. So Camille's done he's got to his level 6 qualification already. He's finished his 3 years at university. He's now moved on to a master's, which is the next level up in kind of the qualification table. there's an additional qualification you can take to specialise a little bit more. So Camille, tell us a little bit more about what you're specialising in and what do you hope it leads on to?
Okay, so the specialization I took was web applications and services. It's because I would like to get into doing like cloud computing, helping out companies to build their networks over like easier access to working between two different campuses. For example, like university have one building in, I don't know, in the middle of the town center, and then another building that's outside of town center, and then you will have one main place for which they will communicate easier. So this is like building these kind of networks to specialize in which services to apply, because there's tons and tons of different services that can be used by different programs for different servers, and learning about these gives you an idea of what's more suitable for different companies. And this is something that basically I'm learning about to get more knowledge and be much more applicable for such jobs, because in undergraduate you're only like given an outline of what it is, but going further into, so like masters, this is something that companies would more likely look for if they need someone who's like specialized in something. And this is the reason why I decided to get my master's done as well.
Great. I think last question then for all of you from me before we open up the chat. Our sessions this week are about self-management and obviously looking at the different skills as part of that organisation, obviously timekeeping, self-belief. How do you guys use self-management kind of as part of your course? Amina, if we go back to you and start with you again, and we'll go through everybody.
So in my course, our lecturers kind of give us a layout of how many hours we are meant to do for each module, and if we're doing a certain amount of hours, that means that we're spending too much time in a module. So using the layout that my lecturers have given us, I plan my time around all of the reading and the work that I have to do, and I try to fit that around, for example, doing a sport, doing societies at university, because I think that's a really important part. So managing my hours and keeping track of how much I'm working on a particular subject.
Sean?
I would say a lot of the same, but also specifically for computer science, I think, you know, we don't get taught everything that we need to know to do the coursework that we're given. So you need to be able to spend time doing your own research on certain topics, learning about different areas so that you can do the coursework, because in the lectures you don't get taught everything exactly that you need to know. There's always going to be something new that is easier or works better for what you're trying to produce, and you have to think outside the box and do your own research and look into it yourself.
And Camille?
Just similar like Sean mentioned, there's a lot of individual research as well to be done, as you get taught the basics, of course, and you know, get the understanding, but then comes the courseworks, which require additional parts to be done, and it's not something that you will be fully taught, so you do have to learn, and that is also a good part because it prepares you for your future. If you're like outward, they will not give you any kind of instructions full on, here, do this and that, follow these exact steps. It's more like they just say, do this, and then you have to know which way you have to do it. So it's a good thing to do it like this. And managing the time is also important, because there's many different things with shorter deadlines. So if you focus on one thing only, you may not put too much effort into the rest. So you have to like manage them and give yourself an outline how much time you will spend on this module, and this module, and then that allows you to, you know, equally balance out your effort into all of them.
Brilliant, that's great, thank you. So hopefully that's given kind of everyone a good basic understanding about what our students do, obviously their self-management skills they've been using as well. So it's a good time to kind of open up the floor really. So anyone has any questions for them? Now, obviously our students are all studying similar-ish courses. So what they won't be able to do is answer questions on kind of other courses. but they can answer questions on student life generally. They can answer obviously questions about Leicester specifically, and they can certainly answer questions on obviously the skills they use as part of their courses as well. So if you do have questions, if we open up the chat, please feel free to kind of put a question in the chat, and we'll also try and make sure we get as many answers as we can. So
Hi Nicola, it's Gerard. Sorry, I was just keeping an eye on the chat for you as well. Lewis has put a question in there. He'd like to know what the first year of university is like.
Yeah, I can try to answer that one for you. So the first year is quite an interesting experience because you're like going into something new system, a new way of learning. You go into the lectures, you sit there, and everyone's just like, you've got the lecturer telling you everything through like size explanations, and you're not sure how to actually approach everything. But you do have the support there, and you get told kind of what should you be doing. You have the 2 first weeks or so, they give you an idea of how to follow. So I believe the first year is kind of a new experience that you can get used to it through the time gradually, but beginning may be quite an interesting part.
Thanks, Camille. And I'm guessing that you, along that journey, you make friends who feel like they're in the same place. So you've kind of got a bit of a sort of shared approach to working it all out a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. This is actually one of the main aspects of their making your friends, that they keep you there, because if you don't know something, you ask them, and they might be, this is that way, and it helps you to get along as well.
Thanks. I wondered if I could ask one of our other students who are on the call with us today. Nene Pollard has asked, do you have downtime at university? And do you ever find that work too much or a little bit stressful? So perhaps if you do, how you might manage that. So I wondered if I could offer that to somebody else who's from one of the universities.
So I can answer that. So
thank you.
What I've found to be downtime at university has been joining societies from the Students' Union. So for example, me with some of my friends, we started a new society of our own for women in science, technology, engineering and maths, and organising those events and kind of meeting new people. That's a really good way to have downtime. We also have a gym on campus and a lot of other sports societies, for example, rugby, and taking part in those is a good way of relieving stress.
Thanks, Amina. That's really useful. I think that whole sort of university life, so you have to work hard, extremely hard, but it's good to have those outlets as well. So thanks, that's been really helpful. If I move on to a question that we've got from Lily, Lily's asked, do you have to live at university? There's a lot of talk about dormitories, student accommodation, so it'd be great to just hear if anyone's happy to share about their sort of living circumstances at university at the moment.
I can answer that one as well, if that's okay. With the first initial attempt, because I have friends that went to university prior to myself, and they are telling me all the stories, like how it is living with like students, getting to know new friends, and I was quite interested in that. But it was quite like the applications and everything was moving really soon, so if you want to get into living at camp like dorms, you would have to start your applications sooner than the university and everything. So myself, I actually didn't get into it, and I had lived in a private accommodation instead. Ever since I've not changed it, so it was always private. But like my partner, for example, she was living in dorm and she was really satisfied living like this because she made totally new friends and friends that are also on the same course, which does help along because there's someone that you can talk to in case you're struggling with something or for revision. You can do it together. It's a good thing.
Okay, I really like that sense of community.
Did either of you actually live in halls at all when you were at uni? Your first year?
No, I've stayed at home. I've lived in Leicester my whole life.
What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I lived in halls. I lived in university managed halls first year.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? How it felt, how you moved in, and all kind of how you made friends and things, and what your room was like a bit as well.
Well, I mean, it varies a lot, I guess, which kind of which building you get, which room you get. I think I got a pretty good one. But yeah, it's interesting because you're all like in the same boat at first. So you just make friends with whoever's around. And that at first will be your flatmates, and then other people that you meet at other times. The support is very good at university managed accommodation. Like if you have any problems, you can go down to the reception and talk about it. And there's like security and stuff, which is really useful. And then about my room and my flat, it was pretty good. Like the kitchen was nice and big. We had all the stuff we needed. It was very modern. I had an ensuite bathroom, but a shared kitchen. And yeah, I liked it. It was very good.
I think it's worth adding two things about university halls. Number one is the majority, they're not dorms. So most university accommodation are single bedrooms. So it's not like kind of what you see on the telly, certainly for American kind of college shows. It's not really like that one. And the second thing is you don't have to live at university. So like Amelia just kind of said, you don't have to go away. You can stay local. You can commute from home if you want to. You can also have private accommodation like sort of Camille did as well. So please don't think you have to move away. You have to live in university halls. It's an option for you, but it's not your only option.
Okay, thanks, Nicola. We've got time for one more question. If I can pick up the one we've got from Mohammed, which is specifically for you, Amina. The question is about when you were learning about politics and government, what did you specifically learn? And they're interested to know how that helped you in your uni, in your outside life. So I think what the question is from politics and government, are the things that you've actually applied within your life?
So in government and politics, it was a 2-year A-level course, and in the first year I learned all about British politics, the British political system, and the second year I had the choice to learn between either the American political system or political ideologies, and I chose the American political system. Honestly, I only chose at A-level because I needed maths and physics to get onto my course, and a third one that sounded interesting to me. That was very essay-based, and my course isn't essay-based at all, so it hasn't really helped me at university. I just did it out of interest.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to squeeze, this will probably get me in trouble, but I'm going to squeeze one last question in. Actually, Nicola, could I bring you in on this one? It's the question that we've had in from Neely.
Yeah, so Neil's question was, what's it like going from lessons to lectures? Now, obviously, there is quite a big jump between A-levels and going on to university study. It's a really different way of learning. So what I'd probably say is don't be worried about it, and just be prepared to accept that it is a different way of learning. You aren't taught in the same way. You're far more likely to be sitting listening to a lecturer. But the good thing is there's a whole lot of support there for you, and so many people in the same boat of you as well. So it will be different. It's not the same style of learning, but the good news is you guys have got loads of time to kind of find out a little bit more about it as well. So do your research. As and when we can, get back to universities, have a look around, and obviously talk to people about it a bit more as well. Talk to students, and we'll be able to kind of figure out what's kind of happening next, and you'll learn over time a bit more about how it's different to going to school. And that's why a lot of people do it. They get bored of school. You think, oh, I'm fed up with education. But actually, university is a completely separate entity to school, and even college really as well. So explore further down the line, research a bit more. But it is different, and it will take a bit of adjustment, but you've got the time to do that.
Excellent. Thanks, Nicola. Thanks to everybody who's put in some excellent questions on the chat there. I'm going to hopefully hand back to Becca now, who is just going to talk through some of the next steps. Becca, can you hear us okay? Can we hear from you?
Yeah. So that's
Excellent.
it. Thank you so much to all of our students for being with us and for sharing a little bit of an insight into what their kind of day-to-day life and reality is like studying. So there's been loads and loads of information today, and I know for us certainly we've kind of time seems to have flown today. There was a worksheet that was sent out to you guys, and again, we're not going to mark it, it's not compulsory, but I really would recommend that you take a look at that worksheet and make some notes for your own reference just about some of the bits that we've covered today. So particularly around the range of different qualifications that are available to you, and also some of the key points that you've heard from some of our students and from Nicola as well. Next week we will be we'll be moving on to a whole different skill and sector. So next week is all about teamwork. So our next session will be on Tuesday at 11 a.m. As always, you'll get emailed out the link to your session around about 9 a.m. just before the session starts. So we look forward to seeing you then. We'll have a new employer with us as well who will be here to set a challenge and ask any questions that you've got. And whether you're watching Netflix, whether you're sleeping, whether you're doing nothing, or whether or not you're catching up on schoolwork, do make sure you have a brilliant weekend. And I'll let you all know how I got on watching a Money Heist over the weekend. So goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you all next week.